Howdy do, folks. Here with our next installment of the Nachos and Flicks series. That's literally just the exact same series as Fresh from the Theater, but with nachos. However, here to watch some The Suicide Squad.
I've been anticipating this movie for a while.
Have you really?
Yeah, I really want to see what James Gunn does with this movie. I really am hoping it's not just an R-rated copy of Guardians of the Galaxy, but I hope there's at least a unique spin on it.
That's exactly what I was worried about when I first heard that Gunn was slated to helm the next Suicide Squad film. And then when I saw the title of the next Suicide Squad film, I got even more worried. Because I'm like, oh, so they are just kind of wiping their ass with continuity now. Great.
Just the other one pretty much doesn't exist, and I think there's a good reason for it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I was going to rewatch it, but then I realized I would have to watch Suicide Squad, so...
Understandable. But I will say, you know, as much just disdain for the project as I had, I've kind of gotten past that. Mostly because I think James Gunn and the cast have been real stand-up about supporting David Ayer and his pursuit to release his version of the original movie.
I would love to see that. I would really like to see that, but...
Yeah, especially, you know, since it was filmed to be a drama. It wasn't filmed to be
a comedy,
a
upbeat,
Deadpool comic book movie. But this one is very much a soft reboot of that series. So I think, like, Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad are canon in the loosest sense, but they're absolutely not required going into this movie.
I don't know about Suicide Squad. I mean, maybe Birds of Prey. I think it's just kind of...
It just, you know, quick spoilers for movies that, you know, one of them's been out since 2016, and another one barely anyone saw when it came out. I could see, you know, just as far as Harley Quinn goes, you know, you look at where she's at the end of Shit-Aside Squad or Studio Squad or however you want to call it. She's reconnected with Jared Leto. They break up for Birds of Prey. Shit goes down in Birds of Prey, and now she's arrested again for the Suicide Squad, where Superman has apparently been shot with a kryptonite bullet by a Bloodsport.
Okay. I'm going in this movie knowing pretty much nothing about it, except it's gotten, like I said, an overwhelming, pretty positive reception.
I am someone that I really try and avoid looking at reviews, especially from big critics on YouTube, because I don't want anything to sway my bias one way or the other. But, you know, I can't help seeing Twitter reactions to this film.
Right.
And yeah, a few small content creators that I really look up to, all of them have said that this is the best DCEU film by a mile, and like some of them have even told me it's their favorite just DC film outright.
That's high praise.
It's okay. Insanely high praise. So, like, I'm not gonna try and, you know, go into this like, ugh, well, if it doesn't hold a candle to the Dark Knight, then I don't want it.
I just want a fun-filled movie. That's it. And
yeah, like, I will say, if this movie is really good, I'm not gonna even look at it as a, hey, yeah, take that, David Ayer. Like, this is how you make a movie. Like, it's really gonna just affirm to me, I'm like, yeah, both Suicide Squads can work as they see fit. It's just, if one movie is going to be filmed a certain way, it better not be botched in editing.
Right, like, don't change it midway through. And
right, don't get cold feet because of the reception from a film that you yourself bastardized for theaters, only to punish another filmmaker for it.
Right, and that's why, which... seems like we're not going to get the Ayer cut.
That's bullshit. No, I 100% doubt that.
I don't
know. When Zack Snyder's Justice League first came out, that was the first thing everyone was like asking for, besides, you know, a direct sequel. But John Cena, Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, Joel Kinnaman, James Gunn, all of them are pushing for the fucking Ayer cut. It's gonna happen. It's not even a matter of like if at this point. They wouldn't be saying this shit if they weren't confident that, like, they could.
So I mean, if they, I mean, I'm glad that they're like supportive of it. Like they're supportive of other filmmakers, but like if it gets released, is it in continuity with this movie? With Zack
Well,
Snyder's Justice League? Is it like kind of are there two separate?
that's the thing.
No
I
one-
don't know exactly how this movie fits in what universe. The only movie that I can make no arguments about how it fits in the Snyderverse or DCEU is Wonder Woman 1984, because that movie has just the dumbest fucking story, and that was so not needed.
Yeah, that was kind of.
It's not the worst DCEU film to me, but it's definitely the dumbest. But that remains to be seen. As far as what the Ayer cut being canon too, that would be the only version of Suicide Squad that exists to me. Studio Squad would no longer exist. That would be like Justice League, where it's just a product that was the result of executives getting cold feet.
Right, and messing up someone's vision and
Right.
changing it up and stuff. So
Yeah, for me, the Snyderverse, I just want it to be, if it has to exist alongside whatever Hamada and the DCEU want to pursue moving forward, I'm fine with that. They've established the multiverse. Pursue both. You can. No one's going to complain about that. However, I'm someone that, I'm also not opposed to the Snyderverse just existing as the DCEU, like it was intended. Whereas a lot of people are like, hey, I want every movie, in versions of movies that have already come out to, be Snyder's vision. And I'm someone that I'm like, I'd rather them right away for Aquaman or Shazam to be canon to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Right, 'cause, I mean, they're played by the same actors, basically meant to portray those characters in Justice League, and that's the point, is to build up to Justice League with
essentially
solo movies. But
yeah, if the Ayer cut came out, there would be two timelines. One with all the good DCEU films, and then the timeline with Wonder Woman 1984 Ayer, or like the version that came out in 2016 of Suicide Squad and Justice League.
nobody wants to see those.
Yeah, no one would be down to see that. So, thinking we're wrapping this whole chill pre-review section up, I think it's time to go.
Yeah, we did get a little sidetracked, but
see exactly what James Gunn has to offer DC fans. So, catch y'all in a bit.
Do it. You want your mask? Come and get it!
Alrighty. Just got back from the Suicide Squad.
what a pleasant movie.
I
gotta
was-
say,
I was very, very, very delighted.
absolutely. I mean, I had somewhat high expectations, but
See, I was very skeptical about this movie, and it goes to show, just always hold out hope for the filmmakers, to deliver. And James Gunn definitely delivered a really good product, I would say.
absolutely better than, of course, the Studio Squad. Definitely better than the second Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, to say that this movie is better than Studio Squad, which I know every YouTuber is going to be like, well, the big question on everyone's mind is it better than what came out in 2016? Guys, if I have to be the one to tell you that yes, James Gunn, The Suicide Squad is better than the fucking shit that came out in 2016, then I just have no hope for humanity at that point. That is the definition of a modest goal.
Right. I mean, that the bar's not exactly high.
Right. Of course this movie was going to be better in every way.
It should have been.
Better song choices, better chemistry between the characters, better writing. It's all way, 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 way fucking better. So I don't want to spend enough time talking about the ways that this movie was better, because we haven't seen the real version of Studio Squad anyways. I will say, though, that I do think this is my favorite James Gunn film, just period.
That's high praise.
Yep, I was thinking about it a little bit. There are a few things about the first Guardians film I do like more. I think just as far as the main characters go, they're more memorable. The action scene at the beginning of the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, I still just fucking love the whole tug of war thing they got going on. But man, James Gunn really got the opportunity to make just a very satisfying to watch comic book movie.
Absolutely, and that's all really he needed to make.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, there's no studio interference. There's no, like, just let James Gunn do his thing, write his own movie, direct it. This is his vision. Let him do what he needs to do. And look what happens.
Right.
You get high praise. You get people who want to see this movie.
I just hope that the feedback, because the feedback for this is going to be very strong. Like, we saw it. Theater wasn't super, super packed, but, it's a day before the release, and we saw a pretty late showing. But most everyone in that theater did really like this film.
Fuck what they think. They took our seats, so.
Well, no, the fucking bitches cut me in line trying to buy my tickets.
Well, that too, but...
Yeah, fuck these kids, man. That's unfortunate. The little bastards get to fucking continue their reign of terror on my movie-going experience. As far as just letting James Gunn breathe and do what he does best, we, as the audience, get to reap the benefits. Warner Brothers, now Discovery, however that's working out with this, they get to reap the benefits of good feedback, good earnings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting to see DC kind of thrive a little bit, especially off the cusp of what was not a well-received Marvel movie. Like, what timeline have I found myself in where a Suicide Squad movie just was way better received than a Marvel movie?
That's kind of blowing my mind. That's kind of interesting to think about. Yeah, for so long we've been used to Marvel just delivering quality, and then
Yeah, they were the standard that everyone just compared DC to, and now we're seeing their opportunity to shine.
DC might actually...
I think it's DC's time,
Yeah.
Phase 4 can be, whatever it is now. It's probably going to be interesting, but, I don't know a lot of people that are really excited for the MCU anymore.
No, I mean, honestly, even with me especially, and probably some others, once Endgame happened, it's
that was a wrap, folks.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like, unless Marvel does something different, DC is kind of stepping their toes in, doing some different things here and there, like they did with this movie. It worked out, and can't wait to see what's in store for them. But hopefully this kind of gets Marvel's attention to kind of
not fire him again.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't say it comes across like, the other James Gunn entries where it doesn't feel like he's writing the cringy jokes. My issue with the humor, though, is that, you could argue humor is always going to be subjective.
Of course.
Whether, you find it funny or not is here nor there. A lot of people were laughing in the movie, so who am I to say it's not a funny movie? But I think it's pretty lazy and, low-hanging fruit when, most of your jokes just involve dicks. Or buttholes. Or the terminology surrounding genitalia.
And it's a little childlike, yeah.
It's very juvenile. But, that's even some shit about, Birds of Prey, I thought was okay, guys, are we capable of telling another joke? Or, So I guess they're just trying to keep it consistent in that world, maybe, but I don't know. Could have done without it. I still think enough of the humor that did land for me, it gives it the tone it needs, that it's going for.
Right. I think, especially with the characters, most notably King Shark, of course, his humor definitely lands. You can't help but not like the guy.
I will say, as far as every character that's cast in that movie, all of them are cast well. I think Sylvester Stallone as King Shark is such a perfect casting.
Mm-hmm. He agreed to do it just like that.
Oh yeah, he loves James Gunn, but just comparing his character in Guardians 2 to King Shark, that's exactly the kind of character Sylvester Stallone should be playing now. It's just some inaudible, illegible fucking creature, man.
Just has very few lines here and there. It's kind of a comedic side relief.
Yeah, I am disappointed though. It might be a little bit of a spoiler, but don't go into this movie hoping he says the line. He doesn't say the line.
Guess we'll move.
Fuck this movie, man. It's a 0 out of 10 to me.
Garbage.
Garbage fucking shit. About some of the other characters, obviously Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn nails it again. I really like that she's kind of come into her own with this character, because in Studio Squad, she does give it her all, but, like, I wouldn't say her character is well written. It's just kind of a mindless character.
Oh, for sure.
In Birds of Prey, they really try and improve her character by giving her some kind of liberation. In this movie, like, you feel like Margot Robbie actually has some kind of voice and idea of what Harley Quinn is supposed to be, and she just rolls with it. My favorite scene in the whole fucking movie is just, it involves her and her alone. Because I think it nails everything that is Harley Quinn, everything that James Gunn does well about action, and just the absurdity of what comic book movies can be.
All rolled into one scene.
All rolled into one beautiful fucking scene. I thought Idris Elba as Bloodsport, interesting cast, especially for a character like Bloodsport. Not too knowledgeable about Bloodsport. I'm pretty sure he works like a mantle, though. Like, you're not really supposed to know who Bloodsport is. Not 100% certain on that, but I enjoyed his character. You know, they needed a new Will Smith figure, because Will Smith was absolutely not going to come back.
Well, this was better than Will Smith, so...
Yeah, Bloodsport was much better as a character than fucking Deadshot.
That's right, yeah, he was Deadshot.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as looks go, yeah, he looked like Deadshot, but it was Will Smith just collecting a paycheck.
Yeah, he was just playing himself, really.
Barely. He was reading lines, and that's about it. Can never remember the actor's name, but the guy that plays Polka Dot Man, he plays a schizophrenic from Arkham in the Dark Knight. I always, you know, whenever I see his face, that's who I am reminded of. But his character's really cool. Really funny, too, but, like, in a natural, uncringy way.
You never thought you'd say that. Polka Dot Man is pretty cool.
Never would I thought that Polka Dot Man would be a cool character to see in a DC film. Because, I mean, there's scraping the bottom of the barrel with your D-list roster, and then there's getting Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man is below them.
Yeah, he's one of the most pathetic characters, but, like, I love him in this movie.
He definitely fits with the movie, especially with
Absolutely.
the major theme of acceptance and people having a purpose. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I think Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, this might be a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I actually think she did better in Studio Squad.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like Viola Davis, you know, she's a fantastic actress. She, you know, has so many great roles under her belt. Here, I feel like, you know, and this is just me personally, you see that she probably did not like the feedback of Studio Squad, and, you know, it probably got to her a little bit, and I think you see that come through in her performance here a little bit. There are moments where I think she is, like Viola Davis, amazing.
Yeah, like she's the perfect casting for that.
She's definitely perfectly cast for Amanda Waller, but there are other times where I see Viola Davis, like, reading the line, and I'm like, was that really your best take? Like, I've seen much better from her, so I'll be a pretentious little critic there, since I know she's capable of perfection in everything she inflects. Here, I just, you know, it seemed like she was here to get a paycheck.
So you thought maybe she was like, okay, this is another one of these Suicide Squad movies. It's
Right.
probably going to be...
Yeah, people didn't like the one that I was in, so I'm not going to waste my acting chops unless they're going to pay me $20 million more.
But, like, even then, like, I think people really liked her performance in Studio Squad. So, I
That's,
mean,
yeah, she was absolutely one of the standouts. It's just, I imagine when you're a hugely reputable actor or actress like that,
yeah, you have to...
a movie like Studio Squad really is a huge blow to your, not self-image, but just...
Right, you're, like, work as an actor or actress, and, like, you're being a perfectionist with your craft and stuff,
Right.
like, kind of...
Right.
Joaquin Phoenix, he's really picky about stuff. That's why he doesn't really do comic book movies, except for obviously Joker, which he was heavily involved in. So
Yes. I thought John Cena as Peacemaker, one of the things I was most skeptical about, especially since, they were very open about, hey, you're going to love Peacemaker so much that we're making a show, filming it alongside the Suicide Squad, so that, when it comes out, you can feast your eyes on Peacemaker. And I'm like, who the fuck asked for Peacemaker,
Yeah.
And, keep in mind, this was at a time where, the whole buzz for DC was release the Snyder Cut, restore the Snyderverse. And here we get Peacemaker show.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing the movie for myself, I absolutely understand why, they're pursuing it. And I'm down for it.
Really? I kind of disagree.
Really?
I like how he was in the film, but I don't really need to see a whole spin-off show centered around him.
I won't say it's something I'm clamoring for, that I'm frothing
Yeah.
at the mouth to see. It's just... his character was very well written, and I think it's probably one of John Cena's best performances, because he is one of the hokiest actors alive.
And the dude was a wrestler, and somehow he got movie roles. But
Thanks, Fred Ficklehorn. One of the scenes that was almost my favorite in the movie, maybe at the end I'll talk a little bit more about it, since I don't think I can discuss it without spoilers. But there's a moment before the climax happens where it's pure just dramatic buildup, and his character with who he's squaring off against, really, 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 really powerful scene until it's not.
so they cut away.
Yeah, the movie makes a choice, and it's not the first time it does it. The first time it does it, I was actually cool with, since it happens especially at the beginning of the movie. But towards the end of it, it does it again, and I think it deflates all of that dramatic tension that was built up. It's a little unfortunate to say. I don't think most people would agree with me, but it's how I felt during that scene. It didn't work a whole lot for me. It could have been better executed.
Show the events, what could have happened, but unfortunately it would have kind of messed with tone and pacing a little bit.
That's the thing, you see why they chose to arrange the order of the scenes this way, because of all the context that's going on they want to show. However, I feel like one thing specifically could have been removed, so that you could show the entire structure of what both squads are doing in one chronological succession. But here they changed the order of how it happens. You see one thing happens, it goes back in time to show you the missing context and how it builds back into that moment. Had it just gone in order, it would have been much, much, much more effective.
For you, in a way.
For me, at least. But as far as just the characters and the plot goes, that's really it. Don't get attached to a lot of characters. The marketing really does this film justice. Even the intro scene, it lets you know exactly the kind of movie you're in for.
Oh, absolutely. Even it was surprising to me, and even I felt like I knew kind of where they were going. I just didn't know it would go that quick.
Right. Much like the first film, at the beginning, how it introduces characters, it's very rapid fire. Very rapid fire, with just giving you as much information as it possibly can in a short time, all you need to know. But here it does work better because it doesn't waste your time with all these, ridiculous stylized text fonts, and list of attributes. Hey, did you know that fucking Captain Boomerang's fetish is pink unicorns? There's none of that going on. But I still would say it does kind of assault you with information a little bit.
Just with how quick it is, really.
Right.
But I mean, they flesh out the characters as it goes along, especially with their backstories, so...
Yes. And there's even a scene where all of them have, a drink, in Studio Squad. However, situation of why they're there, and just as far as that down moment goes before it leads into the next scene, it's a better breath, Whereas in the first film, it was pretty boring.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection until you brought it up.
Yes, it seems like there's a lot of things that, even though this still exists probably alongside this continuity, there's a lot of things that Warner Brothers were like, hey, we want you to have this homage, you know, since we're making this film as like a second chance for this franchise.
It would be the only chance.
Right.
If it bombed, basically, then.
Yeah, if nobody sees this movie, which I doubt, I think this movie's gonna kill it at the box office. Yeah, that would have probably been it for most of DC. Because this was probably the riskiest movie that Warner Brothers took.
Oh, absolutely. And they needed someone like James Gunn behind it to do it. Like, the name had to carry it as well, as much as...
Throughout the movie, you know, to establish the time, it'll give you certain, you know, stylized fonts, you know, saying like meanwhile, earlier, 8 minutes ago, or whatever. But it'll use the world's environment to craft that text. Like, for example, a character's in a pit, you know, like a dirt pit. So the tree roots that are above them are going to spell out, like, you know, meanwhile.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like that. Only because there's one of those that's really, 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 like, it's quick. Like, it's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but it's a really cool perspective thing. It shows the architecture of a roof, and it spells out a word with, you know, just the way the camera's focused. And once that camera moves, it just becomes part of the natural environment again. That's how you do that. You don't just make, you know, inanimate objects spell things without any kind of logic to it. And I know the logic is, it's a comic book movie, but...
It's also a film. I mean,
it's also a film. That's the thing. Last thing I want to talk about before I get into my quick spoiler thought is the villain of the movie. There's technically two villains, but one of them is a very, 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 very tertiary villain to the big baddie. What'd you feel about Starro?
I mean, it was a little ridiculous at the end, like seeing this giant starfish as CGI, like, attack it like it's a Godzilla.
Yeah, it's a kaiju. It's for sure.
But I mean,
one of the cringiest jokes in the movie, in my opinion, even acknowledges that it's a kaiju just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. As far as, like, there are just absurd characters in comic book mythology. Starro is literally just as ridiculous as you can imagine. I'm glad that James Gunn was still unapologetic about the source material.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my thing. If you're gonna use something so absurd and ridiculous, own up to it, you know? Don't hold back from it. Don't shy away from it to try and make it more believable. So, I'm glad Starro was done justice as far as comic book accuracy goes, but, like, yeah, I could see people complaining about this just being another cliche CGI kaiju thing to fight at the end of the third act.
I mean, because it is. But
yeah, it's just I don't think most people will, because the film itself is still too fun to criticize. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't matter, you know, if there's a giant CGI thing to fight in the third act. If everything before that is fun.
Right, I guess I can see that too. It's because it is. I mean,
yeah, very fun movie. Very, very, very fun movie. I was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's a very, very, very simple story, so there's not a whole lot to talk about. So I think I'm ready to rate this thing, if you are.
Yeah, I can go ahead and give it a rating. Why not? I don't even remember what I gave Black Widow, to be honest.
You gave it a 6.
I gave it a 6?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
which, if that still applies, now's the time to tell. I'll say right now, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead ain't a 4-star movie for me. I know it gave it 4 stars, but shut up. I changed my mind.
Well, that's the kind of thing of seeing these movies after, like, or doing these reviews after we see them. But
right.
With this movie, you see, when I give it like a high number, it has to be a movie I like want to see again, and I definitely want to re-see it. I don't know if I would exactly pay to see it though. But I would definitely catch it on streaming. I would definitely catch it like on TV or just out of boredom. So
You think they'd show this movie on TV? Fuck that. I can't imagine how censored it would be.
that's true. Yeah.
Like, most of the movie couldn't be in it.
That's,
I think they say the F word for half of the script.
you say the F word. This movie is gorier than Army of the Dead, and I'm teetering between an 8 or a 9. I guess I'll go ahead and give this movie a 9.
Really?
9 out of 10. Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, James Gunn. You have gotten a fucking great score from Derek.
Yeah.
Well, here's where I'm coming from. You're familiar with my rating system now, and if you're not,
Say that 1 star does not mean it's bad.
right. I think this movie's about on the level of, like, Shazam, as far as DCEU entries go. Maybe just under Shazam, and probably...
You would say Shazam is better than this?
I have no idea. I'd say I'd probably rather watch this again over Shazam if, like, those were the two movies I could, only watch for the rest of my life. But, like, it's a neck and neck sort of thing. Because I really do like Shazam. But I don't know if I like it more than Wonder Woman.
That is a tough call. I definitely wouldn't rank this of my top
The only
DC
reason...
movie or even comic book movie.
Yeah.
But
The only reason why I feel like it could go toe-to-toe with Wonder Woman, as far as just, a film's craft goes, is because the third act of Wonder Woman's pretty bad. It's a thing.
yeah.
Very, 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 very entertaining comic book film. And this score is not because I'm a DC shill. It's because I think, actual heart was put into this fucking movie.
You're a DC shill, but you hate Wonder Woman 1984. You hate Studio Squad. You hate
Justice League. So, I think as far as James Gunn's Suicide Squad is concerned, it is definitely worth your time seeing in theaters. Go ahead, see it many times over if you have to. Help support not only just this movie, but just movie theaters in general. Because I think this is a great one to experience on the big screen. It's got very good action, very fun characters, a very fun story, but not in the you gotta turn your brain off to enjoy it sort of way. And maybe I'm just easy to please, but it's good stuff. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is good stuff. It's real good stuff. So I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars.
3 stars.
Yeah, I think I like it better than Shazam. Maybe just overall in general a better film than Wonder Woman, the first one. But that's only because of the third act of that film. So, with that said, congratulations, James Gunn. You didn't make a fucking terrible Studio Squad movie. What are you gonna do next?
I am curious about that. I'm sure he's probably going to be more heavily involved with DC than with Marvel. But
Well, I know they're gonna bring him back for the third Guardians.
that's the last one they'll do, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, expect James Gunn to stick around Warner Brothers for a while. He's about to be very good friends with them for good reason.
Yeah, they're gonna keep him around for a bit.
Right. So, with that said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to our review of this Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
And before I depart, I just want to give, my quick spoiler thought. That scene I was talking about, where it involves Peacemaker before the climax, part of his character is that he is an uncompromising, patriotic figure. He doesn't deny fulfilling an order from a higher up. Amanda Waller tasks him with retrieving data. Rick Flag is able to retrieve the data for himself to expose the U.S.'s involvement in Project Starfish. Peacemaker ends up killing him to protect the U.S.'s secrets under the guise of Amanda Waller. Ratcatcher 2 witnesses this, tries to escape. Peacemaker has her, point blank, just holding a pistol to her. And Bloodsport kills him in response. That whole situation, until Bloodsport arrives, I thought was perfectly, captured as far as tension, drama goes.
It's perfectly executed, and then...
Before it's revealed that Bloodsport is there, it cuts back to 8 minutes earlier, involving, a situation with Bloodsport, Harley Quinn, Polka Dot Man, King Shark. And the context of what they're doing is good stuff. You see King Shark playing with some fish, and it's a really cute moment. That scene does need to be in the movie, but, spending time talking about some throwaway character that was in the movie for less than, 2 minutes total, I feel like is the only thing that prevents it from being able to told in chronological order. Had it been told in chronological order, that whole scene involving Peacemaker and Bloodsport would have so much better payoff to it. And, it's just something that I thought was a little disappointing. But, shit like that happens all the time in comic book movies. Where it's just, there's one thing where it's like, hey, if I were the filmmaker, I would not have structured it this way. That's all I wanted to talk about spoilers, though. So go out, go see this movie, and, long live DC. That's the thing. Long live DC.
If they keep up with movies like this, absolutely.
Yeah. So, we'll get out of your hair. Get Tarek some Betty Buys.
I need to get some rest. Do unfortunately work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
So, have yourselves a fantastic night. Take care. Stay safe. And don't drive drunk.